again, YouTube, my fellow musers. Welcome to Modern Day Musing. My name's Tom, and today I want to do another topic video. This is kind of a mesh of two I want to do. So one is just musing about modern day life, and I'm going to talk about the university experience I've had. But this is a combination of that and also just doing topic videos on books, articles, videos I've watched, quotes I've read that I want to muse on or have got me musing, and I want to share it with you guys and then hear your feedback. So this kind of interlocks the two because it's the only time in university I really read something or I was taught something where I felt so engaged. And it was something extremely valuable. The other stuff is valuable from the sense of being able to monetize and learn skills, but this is like a life thing where I haven't experienced that since the philosophy course I took in school in grade 12. So in university, it's anthropology. The textbook's called cultural anthropology, and it was an elective, and I kind of went into it not knowing what to expect, and it really impressed me with this talk about culture. It was very, very informative and really got me musing and thinking. I even wrote a little note to the professor on the exam about what this last chapter of the textbook, like how it got me musing and really motivated me. And I'll get to that quote, but here's first the staggering quotation that I read from the textbook. I've got a couple here. The Western world is based on a rate of consumption of non-renewable resources in which the wealthiest 20% of the world's population, mostly Westerners, consume 80% of the goods and services produced. Now that statistic, again, question where it came from, but even if it's anywhere close to that, 20%, the wealthiest 20% of the world's population consume 80% of the goods and services produced. That one really, it's astonishing. And why, and especially the type of goods and services you're producing. Do you need to do that? I would probably say I don't think so. But again, that's what we need to muse about. And then another cool thing they talk about is one world culture. Could all of the world cultures merge into a single world political entity? One problem with such a prediction is that it ignores the one thing that all large states, past and present, irrespective of other differences between them, share a tendency eventually to come apart. So that to me, it was just interesting thinking about that. And there was even a theory in that class that will we just have one language? Because with evolution, the more, like if two things ultimately do the same thing, one becomes extinct. And with language, that's kind of, that is really what's there. It's communication. And if we have the ability to interact with one another, are we not just going to choose one language to interact with? And furthermore, if we can communicate so effortlessly with one another now, are we just going to come into one culture? And you see a lot of people who would argue that it's already happening. The Western society is trying to be like, it's being permissive and spreading across the world, our view. And is that good? I don't think the current form of it would be, because it's too excessive. And that's a whole nother video topic. But that's just another cool aspect of this textbook that talks about these ideas about culture and where we're headed. But the most important one to me, and this one had me really inspired, and it was whoever wrote this, hats off to you, very compelling. The key to our continued survival lies in our ability and willingness to see the earth as a benevolent host rather than a resource to exploit, and our fellow humans as partners rather than competitors. What we do in the next 50 years will determine the kind of existence that future generations of humanity will inherit. Again, I'm just breaking this down into things I really highlighted. The greatest danger we face is apathy, a human tendency to pretend that nothing is wrong, that someone else will fix it, or even worse, that there is nothing we can do. Whether we focus on environmental issues, human rights, or fair distribution of economic resources, each of us can make a difference. In the wise words of anthropologist Margaret Mead, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. And to me, that really spoke to me. It really did. And I guess that's kind of part of this channel. I want to really dig into myself and grow as a person, and find a community of people who are trying to do the same, and maybe together we can come up with some ideas that better our own lives and the lives of others. And again, I'll just highlight some stuff here. Seeing the earth as a benevolent host rather than a resource to exploit, that's kind of a Marxist kind of, which, and people will, like, especially the ultra capitalists will just, or the more political will just not look at Marx because of what happened in, say, Russia and China. Sorry, not China, Asia. Well, China is kind of a mix now, but that still rings true. We do exploit the earth a lot. We just use it so much, and one could argue it can handle it, and if it can't handle us, it will dispose of us, and that's a pretty valid argument too. But I guess it really comes down to, if we want to survive, maybe we should not just every day extract, maybe ponder what we need, because there is things we need, like such as food, like the fundamentals. But I think with the more just for thrills, or things we do for fun, like what does fun really mean, and what's valid, like we need to think about that. Like, what are we doing? Like massively consuming certain things, like being too hedonistic maybe. I think that's what they're trying to say there. And then our fellow humans as partners rather than competitors. That's a really egalitarian view, and this class was a lot of that. And I think that's sometimes not true, because sometimes competition is good. It's not necessarily a bad thing. Again, I think with that it's more just a balance. Don't compete in a way that's harmful to others, and be more positive, where you're competing maybe for a common good, like, oh, I want to be the one to find the cure for cancer. Again, that's a huge goal, but you see what I mean between good competition versus, oh, I want this job ahead of you and I'll stop at nothing to get that kind of competition. I think that's really what you should take from that, or what I do. I would love to hear what you take from these quotes. And then the thing about apathy, the greatest danger we face is apathy, a human tendency to pretend that nothing is wrong, that someone else will fix it, or even worse, that there is nothing we can do. When you muse, I think sometimes myself personally, I get into an apathetic state, like, what can I really do? But then they sum it up really well by that quote. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. It does start with someone. Well, all the ingenuity, all the change for better or worse, it starts with someone, a thought, an idea, and then it manifests and it grows. So it's just kind of, it's a struggle. And I think musing, at first it will get you apathetic or frustrated, but indeed it's the only way to get to that change that you wish to see in the world. And there's that quote, be the change you wish to see in the world. Again, really optimistic, motivational kind of quote, but it is true. It does start with you. How can you furthermore, how can you want change without changing yourself or trying to better yourself and the world yourself? So I think honestly just a really positive message from this textbook at the end. Some of it isn't necessarily, like, it's very like I said, egalitarian, all that stuff, but which is sometimes you could argue is over optimistic, but I think, like I just discussed, really a great message. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on especially that last part, the one world view. That's the one world, that's kind of just, I just highlighted that because I thought it was kind of cool, just how kind of cool and kind of scary, because what does that mean? But the little paragraphs here about humanity's future, I really would like to hear your feedback on. So thanks for your time, and again, I'll talk to you soon.